morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason, we are back. Happy Wednesday. We're probably going to need to get retrained. We've been off for the Christmas holiday. We got a short week this week. We're going to be Wednesday today, Thursday, Friday. Then we're going to be off the following Monday and Tuesday for the New Year's holiday. I hope all of you had a fantastic Christmas and were able to enjoy the time. You know, it's a stressful time. We have, I got a full house. Matter of fact, my house is getting fuller. My aunt is coming from Auburn, New York. Beautiful, right up near Cayuga Lake. Just incredible there. My mom's younger sister, and then my mom's younger brother, who is in Long Beach, California, and his wife, maybe the only conservatives. Well, actually, I guess there's maybe 20, 30% of them out there. They're going to be coming as well and spending New Year's with us. So, Jason, it is a pretty hectic holiday time. I hope you guys had a good Christmas and one more week, and then by this time next Wednesday, things will kind of get back to normal.
Yeah, it's the holidays. It's, when we were kids, we waited for months to get to this point so you could have a couple of weeks off, right? so the people used to want that non-normalcy, but then when you become an adult, you kind of get into the grind, and the Monday through Friday sort of thing is a part of your built-in clock, and so having a few days off, kind of the way it is with a Monday Christmas. I mean, Christmas is going to go flip right to Wednesday next year. So it's going to be, there'll be a whole, because the leap year, the whole
tougher,
thing.
Even tougher, yeah. Right? What do you do with Wednesday, right? I mean, the NFL, are they going to play games on Wednesday? I heard that they won't do it. We're not going to do it. I don't know. Oh, boy, Wednesday. Yeah, that's a stinker. I'll say this, though. We were out, my boys, my wife and I, my son's girlfriend was with us. There was people out there yesterday I'll call it at the popular places. MasterCard said retail sales for Christmas up 3.1%. And obviously all of that really is inflation. You kind of give you a perspective. Last year, it was in the high sixes. But again, remember, last year inflation was even higher then. But I would say this, Jason, not terrible, nothing to write home about, but the consumer, hey, whatever money they had, they were at least willing to spend it over the Christmas holiday. Now we'll see what happens. How many people are going to actually be able to pay the credit card bills in January? I think that's what we'll be looking for. We know the vast majority of people decided not to pay their student loans, right? What was it? Almost half of the people that were supposed to pay decided not to pay. I wonder if that number jumps as people maybe spent a little too much over the Christmas holiday, but overall, I would say not terrible, kind of like a lot of the data that we've been getting, right? Not terrible, not too hot, not too cold, but everyone's still expecting the Fed to be cutting rates in 2024.
Yeah, we'll see how that causes more grief and how badly it's going to cause grief when you still have the specter of inflation on a higher level. But it's 2024, Joe. There's lots getting ready to happen next year.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, we're going to, when you think about what they're talking about, they're saying somewhere around 1% GDP. That's what they're anticipating. Let's go to 1 to 1.5%. But we're going to have budget deficits over $2 trillion, approaching $3 trillion. They've already admitted, listen, this is going to be the biggest budget deficit ever outside of the COVID deficits. And here's the problem. They're going to be real close to the COVID deficits. It just tells you this is the thing I think I worry about the most. With this kind of, let's call it what it is. reckless, idiotic, dangerous, all of these, whatever adjective you'd like to use about the spending from Washington, not to mention how much spending the Federal Reserve had done. And now they're saying, Jason, we're going to get somewhere between 1 and 1.5%, hopefully, fingers crossed, GDP growth. I mean, with deficits like this, we should easily be north of 3%, and really probably talking about 4% GDP. None of that's in the cards, and I guess the problem is, how do we get there? How much more money do we have to spend than we take in to actually get growth of, north of 2%? And unfortunately for us, I think that number is going to be way higher than people want to believe. And so when we look at the economy, we look at Wall Street. We say it a lot. Listen, I think Wall Street, real close to a new high. Real close. And I think it can go higher. But at what cost? And I think this is kind of the thing, Jason, that people are starting to figure out. What is the cost going to be with all of this spending? When we get back, though, guess what? I'm going to give you an update on the budget. And then we're going to go over some of the very, very important things that our government has decided they need to spend money on because, well, let's face it, if they didn't, well, then how would we know what cats in Russia are doing and things of that nature? That's all coming up next. You're not going to want to miss it. We're going to break down some of the greatest spending hits of 2023 is coming up next. Eight 800-951-0592. Joe and Jason, Patriot Radio News Hour on this Wednesday. Quick look in at the markets. The Dow's up 50. 37,600. The S&P down. S&P's right near an all-time high, 4,773. The NASDAQ down as well. Not a lot, down 15 points right now. Gold, right now, this will be a new record high close for gold. Right now, 2,080. And that's a December contract. And that contract, it's expiring. I mean, you can't even get delivery on a December contract right now. February, which is the next contract, 2,090. So bumping up on $2,100. As we said, this would be a new record high close. Silver's up 25 cents, $24.90. The 10-year note, 383. As again, people are anticipating rate cuts. The dollar is weaker again, and I between what we're doing from a fiscal standpoint, think about all the things that have to go right in 2024. We've got the continuing resolutions. So that's a January thing. And end of February. They kind of broke it up. Some in January, some in February. Right now, they're spending at the same rate they were last year and anticipating more. We know they're working on some deal, some Israel-Ukraine border deal. Right now, what I'm seeing, about $200 billion more dollars. Let's not forget, sometime late January, maybe early February, I don't know the exact date, the Treasury needs to put more money in the checkbook. So right now, they're kind of saying, well, the deficit's not too bad, knowing that, well, we really just need to borrow somewhere around $120 billion to get the checkbook back up. That's coming. We've got the end of the reverse repos, right? We know that's coming. I mean, there's so many things that are coming in the first quarter that have to go right, that a lot of people are like, you know what, man, Wall Street's pretty expensive. Valuations are sky high, right? Warren Buffett, he don't want to buy anything. Matter of fact, he just keeps selling. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's buying certain things, but overall, he's selling more stocks than he's buying. He's not buying anything. That tells you things. Maybe you're looking for an alternative. Say, man, if I had a better alternative, I'd check it out. Well, how about why refi? Up to 10.25% return, fixed. What does that mean? That means it doesn't change. It's the same every month. Well, what about this or what about that? It doesn't matter what about. No, it stays the same. Fed gets it right, Fed gets it wrong, doesn't matter. The war gets worse, right? Everyone's talking now, right? All these ships being hit out all over the place. Now we're bombing positions in Iraq over the weekend. Who knows? We don't know. Doesn't matter. It won't change. And here's the best part. They've actually made it better. If you want to maybe you want to take 2024 off. Well, great. They'll give you 6.5% for 1 year, 10.25% for 5 years. And they've always had such a great program. If you ever needed something happen, they get it too. Just kind of like Patriot, they get it. Oh, something happened. You need to have that money back. They always gave you all of your principal back, all of it. No questions asked. Now they're going to let you keep some of the interest as well. Being diversified is going to be king here. The 50 years of what I'll call easy Wall Street returns, it balances out. And I think we're in one of these balancing phases. The next 5 to 10 years, I think it's going to be really, really hard because we're in this debt tsunami that we're having to deal with. Look at what we're talking about. We're going to run a deficit, I don't know, $2.5 trillion, closing in on $3 trillion. And they're saying, well, we're going to have 1% growth? That's insanity. Check them out. InvestYRefi.com. That's the word invest, the letter Y, REFY.com. Or just call them at 888-YREFI24 and let them know that I sent you. Now, the debt. Let's look at this. So we had third quarter, the final third quarter GDP number. Remember, it was 4.9%. That was right before we broke for Christmas. Now, they think Christmas is going to be around, 1.5, and that next year, 2024, is going to be around 1.5. But in that 4.9, they had 2.2% of it, almost half of it, was a revaluation of inventory, right? Because, inflation. Hey, all that stuff we haven't sold is now worth more, right? But miraculously poof, call that GDP. And then, of course, government out of control spending. Let's look at what happened in the third quarter. They said that the increase in gross domestic product in the third quarter of 2022 versus the third quarter of 2023, okay, $414 billion. Now, this is not my number. This is the government saying this is what we calculated that. So you're like, hey, that's pretty good, right, Jason? Think about it. Wow. We had $400 billion more in GDP. That's fantastic. Third quarter to third quarter. Oh, well, wait. The debt was also up $1.3 trillion in the third quarter of 2023 alone. So, Jason, when you think about it, we spent roughly $3 of debt to get $1 of GDP growth. That's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah, this is the situation that's happening. We've said it for how long. The Fed has no good decision to make. Low rates, print money, inflation hits. Higher rates, stop the inflation, markets crash. And neither one of those seems like a great way to bring GDP up unless you go into hyperinflation. And I guess the GDP can inflate to new all-time highs. Maybe you can get some big numbers while we have stagflation. Well, I saw the chart, Joe, from 2017 to today, where the inflation's gone since 2017. And the chart was basically, hey, here's the Trump and the Biden of both their presidencies working in the same direction, which is inflation going crazy by both these guys, and the wages going sideways. It's pretty stark, Joe. And how can you have GDP, in this situation unless you hyperinflate it, Joe?
Well,
then it's fake.
$1.3 trillion in a single quarter.
Yep.
And we only got $400 billion worth of growth on the $1.3 trillion.
Yeah.
But so Rand Paul, he just put together a small list that of ridiculous spending, and I wanted to share it with all of you. This is almost like Hunter Biden's tax return. Remember when we were saying things you can't write off with Hunter Biden? Well, let me tell you what the government's been spending our money on, because it's our money. A grant to the National Institute of Health. No, I'm not talking about COVID. I'm not talking about the labs in Wuhan. Apparently used to study Russian cats walking on a treadmill. Yeah, now, I don't know why they had to be Russian, right? Apparently, they didn't want American cats or German cats or Chinese cats, but Russian cats walking on a treadmill. Yes, our tax dollars were spent on it. I think we can cut that. I don't know, but I think that could be cut. You didn't like that one? How about this one? Barbies. Right, we had the Barbie movie out, right? Remember, that was a big help in growth in the third quarter. Oppenheimer and Barbie, right? Everyone went to go see those movies. Barbies, and I can't make this up. I wish this was satire. Used as proof of ID for receiving COVID paycheck protection program funds. Yes, people were using Barbie IDs, Jason, and the government was like, oh, yeah, that looks good to me. Here's your COVID money.
Man, yeah, and is that what's going to be at the lower rates next year? Are they really going to start printing money again? Because that just seems really dangerous with the inflation that's never stopped. Because COVID money, you can blame COVID all you want, but 2019 was showing that stimulus was going to come, and man, they just had the biggest emergency ever just to mask over how much money they printed, Joe. 40% of all money in circulation.
I'm upset. I did not use Barbie and Ken ID to get any stimulus money. I mean, shame on me,
No.
right? I mean, it almost makes you want to be like, why shouldn't I do it? Right? I mean, at this point, it's ridiculous. You get $5,000, $5,000 Visa gift card just to come across the border illegally with a phone and a plane ticket. $6 million to promote tourism in Egypt. No. Egypt didn't spend $6 million. No, we spent $6 million to promote tourism in Egypt. $200 million for struggling artists like Post Malone, Chris Brown, and Lil Wayne. Now, I don't blame these guys. I'm sure that all had to do with COVID and all this stuff, and you can't tour, no concerts, right? I mean, if you're going to give the Warren Buffetts and the Bill Gates and the Jeff Bezos and all their companies money, these guys get money too, Jason.
Well, I wonder if is it $6 million to Egypt or is it $6 billion? I didn't hear that number.
Just $6 million. Just $6 billion.
Yeah. Who are the tourists? I just wonder if it's U.S. military personnel. Because the next door neighbor to Egypt is Israel. It makes you wonder where that money's actually going, Joe. Even if it's only $6 million.
It wasn't $6 million to send Egyptians back that were illegally crossing the border. Absolutely not. No. This was $6 million to convince you to go see the pyramids, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be in Egypt right now. Just there's stuff going on in that region, and I guess they had to have known what was getting ready to happen was going to happen in some level. All the spending, Joe, all the spending is so subject and suspicious. It's I don't believe a dime of it goes to where it's supposed to be going. Joe, how do you trust the government at this point? How do you trust the government who the creature of Jekyll Island? Very quietly just put the central bank in place. I forgot to mention that last Saturday was the 110th anniversary of Congress passing that monstrosity, the Federal Reserve Act. And, how do you trust the government after that? Anything they do, anything that anybody in Washington, D.C. does or says. Hey, tourism to Egypt. I thought tourism was one of those things that just people did of their own volition. Why does there need to be money coming from the United States government to help people go see pyramids? It's highly suspicious, Joe. Where's all this money actually going? What are they propping up? Who's the loser bank or institution that needs that money, Joe?
Dude, I'm just saying, these pictures are hilarious of these COVID. I guess these people had to show ID. These knockoff Barbie dolls they were using. Oh, by the way, bought industrial-sized lobster tanks, but we're not done.
Oh, no.
I'm going to tell you, how much more of your tax dollars did the government just throw away? That's coming up next. (800-951-0592). I ran it all weekend. And I decided today, this is kind of like the post-holiday, the stores, they mark stuff down and do all that stuff. Well, I'm gonna do this here. By the way, gold's up $23. Yeah. 2,081. But really, you got to focus the February contract because that's December contract. That contract's over. $2,092 right now on gold. Silver's up almost 30 cents, approaching $24.50. $20 gold pieces. This is the last day blowout of blowouts. $2,275. $2,275. I mean, we're sitting here February now, 2093, 2094, approaching $2,100, and you can buy a $20 gold piece for $2,275. I so close to spot here. This is a great opportunity if you have the means. If you didn't blow your budget up and you have the means, $20 Liberties today, $2,275 at 800-951-0592 as Rand Paul was going through all these budget line items. It's bad enough, the Barbie doll, COVID, but you should see these pictures. I mean, a person with special needs would realize, hey, that's not a person. That's not a real person. But here you go. Have your money anyway. Dr. Fauci. And no, I'm not talking about COVID again. He has the Monkey Island. Yep. $33 million for Monkey Island. U.S. aid fund. Not only did they boost tourism in Egypt, they had what they said was cutting edge research. What was the cutting edge research that the USDA, when you think USDA, I always think of beef, right? USDA Chuck or USDA this, that, I always think of beef. What was this cutting edge research? Walking dogs in the summer. Yeah. How much did that cost? Well, we don't know. They didn't tell us. They're like, well, we don't know. We couldn't figure out how much we spent on walking dogs in the summer. Now, I don't know. Did they do walking dogs in the spring, walking dogs in the fall, in the winter? I don't know. But this particular one, and I'm not making this up, tax dollars got spent researching walking dogs in the summer. You do that in Arizona, you're going to have a problem. Someone's coming to your door. You don't walk dogs in the summer in Arizona. Well, maybe at night or real early in the morning. Training, how about this? Department of Homeland Security. One of my favorite, what a big cesspool of waste that has become. Training employees to be their authentic and best selves. Yes. Yeah. Tax dollars, you just be authentic, be your best self. If you need, and of course we know it, right? I'm going to be trans, or I'm going to be bi, I'm going to be this or that. Who know, right? We know what it is. How much did that cost? They couldn't tell us. Well, we don't know. It's part of a bigger package. Not really sure how much we actually spent training Department of Homeland employees, Jason, to be their authentic and best self. And of course, listen, we want that, right? When you're getting the TSA pat down at the airport, you want them to be authentic and you want them to be their best selves.
Yeah, well, once again, how does that money actually go where it says it's going? I mean, it just sounds like Department of Homeland Security, that's government. I don't know. It just sounds like they're doing experiments on people.
They made it up, right? Listen, we're going to say this. We don't know.
Well, yeah, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know.
Somehow that ended up in the Middle East, or it ended up in Ukraine. Who knows where it ended up? A toilet seat? We don't know.
Rand Paul needs to go there where they're actually spending that money and actually physically get in their business and say, hey, I'm a congressman and I want to see everything that's going on here, right? Oh, never mind, he's a senator. I want to know everything that's going on here. Show me everything. Open the books, right? That's what we need. We need that guy, right? Let's get some details, because that's where this would get really ugly, right, Joe? What about the details, right?
What about the details? The government, we pay dead people, which we do every year. They said, but I think this is a good number. It was only $38 million. I think it was 38. I think that was $38 million to dead people. Sometimes I see dead people. I've never paid dead people. The Department of Defense needed a lobster tank. $8,395. Now, I don't know if that's a good price or not. Right? I mean, lobster tank, it could be, is that expensive or not? Hard for me to tell, but why do they need a lobster tank? Exactly, the Department of Defense, I'm not sure.
I don't even know what to say, Joe. It reminds me of Independence Day, that movie with the alien invasion, and they go to Area 51, and then there's a secret base down there with all the alien stuff that's been hidden since the 50s. Oh. And then it's I forgot Goldblum's dad he's accidentally ends up on the Air Force One, ends up at the facility, and he's like, well, you don't think it costs $6,000 for a hammer, do you? Right?
Right.
That's what I feel like going on.
Nailed it. I think you nailed it. It really wasn't a lobster tank. One of the Area 51 tanks went bad. They had to get a new one. Right. Put the alien in the tank. We'll call it a lobster tank.
The lobster tank.
No one will know the difference. How to ruin expensive military equipment. I guess this happens. $89 million in new engines. I'm sure they got immediately sent to Ukraine. Transmissions, we did a little better there. Just under $13 million in transmissions. Tank treads. I guess they wear out. $68 million in tank treads. Yes, apparently we're going through a lot of tank treads, Jason, in the military. Wait, I know, we're not done. Real or fake? Department of Homeland Security, they want to help us with the real or fake news. I'll tell you about that when we get 9510592. Gold's up $25, 2,083. February's contract now, which is now the front month contract, 2,095. Silver's up 30, 24, 45. $20 gold pieces. Any quantity, 1 through 100, 22.75. You heard me right. Gold right now setting up for a new all-time record close. Remember the intraday record high, 2135. We're getting ready to crest 2100 here today. The record high close, 2073. So again, and I think, right, we know the trend. We know the pattern here. We're going to have new highs going into 2024, picking up $20 gold pieces at $22.75. Heck, we don't know. I mean, depending on what crazy crap happens, we can hit $22.75, Jason, by Friday. I mean, it can happen and happen very, very easily here, especially as we go through this ridiculous amount of money we spend on crap, and how much of it we don't even know how much we even spend. 800-951-0592. The Department of Homeland Security came out with not one, but two, what they call graphic novels about disinformation. Now, I'm going to guess here that this is more like cartoon pictures type thing, because that's how Homeland Security likes to do things. They make them into like little cartoons and puts them on their website. Yes, they're the ones that are going to tell us what disinformation is. And of course, I'll say this right now. If it came from Homeland Security, there's probably a pretty good chance they're the ones doing the disinformation. But here was the best part. How much did that cost? Well, they couldn't tell us. No, well, we don't know. Right? And again, you're starting to get the picture here of the going in and not understanding how much money's being spent. Did you know that the National Institute of Health, do we need the National Institute of Health? Now, I'm starting to think this is just one big giant sham. Apparently, they got meth. They got monkeys addicted to meth. Yeah. So they could study them. Yeah, they spent taxpayer dollars getting monkeys addicted to meth. How much did that cost? They said, well, we don't know. It was part of a $12 million grant. How much of it went? I mean, where did they get the meth? That's what I want to know, Jason. I mean, did they get a good deal on the meth? I mean, did they buy in bulk? Were they getting it on the street? Where did it come from?
Well, you know, the government's always done experiments with LSD and, you know, marijuana and things like that. They got a long history with doing that. So I guess this is probably, there's a whole lab in Wuhan that everyone's wondering about. So I guess this is just par for the course. You know, speaking of animals on drugs, I just saw an interview with a lady. She lived in California, and she had raccoons acting really strangely. And I guess when they sleep, they hunch over a tree. But this raccoon was like almost dead. She was poking at it. She called animal control. You won't believe what the animal control person said. She said there's been a massive amount of cocaine that was tampered with fentanyl in it. And the people that want the cocaine don't want the fentanyl, so they've been flushing it down their toilets. It's been going into the water supply, and they've had raccoons and coyotes having fentanyl fits, dancing around, acting funky, and you know, like totally messed up because people don't want the fentanyl that's mixed into cocaine. I mean, man, there's never more of a reason not to live in California.
There's so much fentanyl they had to flush it down the toilets.
People were doing the cocaine having a bad high, and so they were flushing the cocaine. So the bad batch, I guess, right now you have You have raccoons doing weird backwards dances and getting high on fentanyl. It's insane. It's insane, the stuff that goes on. And the government just wants to put meth into animals.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if the fentanyl got in there on accident. Make me wonder if that's in the budget somewhere.
The fentanyl, it got into the U.S. on purpose. Let's not kid ourselves, right?
Yes.
How about this? The Treasury's pot of cash for political campaigns. $400 million? $400 million of taxpayer money being spent on political campaigns? $400 million?
Some seems a little light, actually. Don't they spend more on that stuff?
I'm going to tell you right now, where's PETA at? Right? Are they the ones that they don't harm the animals type stuff? How about this one? NIH again. I'm sorry, the National Institute of Health again. They're back. They got a monkey problem. Obviously, someone's got to think for monkeys. Apparently, they created a monkey casino. Yes. And they were gambling for drinking water. Part of a $3.7 million grant to have monkeys gambling drinking water.
I don't even know what to say, Joe. Do monkeys actually have the cognitive ability to actually know that they're risking their water for a bet?
I don't know, right? I don't know.
Is there a poker table? I mean, how does that work? Texas Hold'em for water?
Somebody free the monkeys. That's all I'm saying. Free the monkeys. This is crazy. Backstage passes. $200 million.
Oh, man.
What? That can't be.
Yeah.
That's what it said. Yeah, okay. Well, this show's gone to the dogs, for sure. If not the monkey. Final segment. Final segment here. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason. Gold here, February 2094 and change, up $24 and change, $20 gold pieces if you didn't blow your budget on over Christmas. $2,275 right now. It's some of the closest pricing to spot that we've seen really going back since COVID. This is a great opportunity here to add to your portfolios at 800-951-0592. And of course, gold's up $25 today, so we're going to get much higher gold prices. We're going through, Jason, just this outrageous spending. Studying COVID-19 misinformation on social media in black and rural communities. So just, I don't know. Apparently there's a way they can do that. They were studying it, though. What they were studying, I'm not sure. But that one didn't cost too much, just $3.8 million. I'm pretty sure, I'll tell you what. Give me like $800,000, I think I could get it done. I could get it done for about $800,000. But $3.8 million. But the biggest one is what Rand Paul was saying: improper federal payments. $236 billion was the total. My guess is, Jason, a lot of that probably had to do with, at least I hope, it had to do with COVID, but this was 2023. So fiscal year 2023, I mean, that just ended. It's incredible to think, but, really when you think about it, though, give it perspective. The government spent like $7 trillion. So, really, when you think about it, it was only about 3%. Only about 3%, $236 billion. That was Well, what they said was improperly spent. What I'd love to know is, look at all the programs where I said, I can't even tell you what they spent. Right? Wouldn't that be improper? Right? If you can't tell me how much you spent, we obviously improperly spent it.
Yeah, and maybe they don't tell you the amount because it's ongoing spending. Maybe it's like the Ukraine war. You just we can't give you a total. It's ongoing. That's the only thing I can think of, Joe. Because the other ones have totals. Maybe that program's ended. If it's an ongoing program, maybe they just don't put the totals there.
Yeah, right. Hey, we'll let you know a little later. We're not done adding it all up, but of course, the 2023 budget. You would think that they would have those lines filled in, but again, I don't think anybody's. Here's the sad thing: is anybody surprised? And obviously, this isn't all of them. These are just some of the highlights. And when you can throw that kind of money around, it just tells you how worthless it really is. Doesn't it? Doesn't it just make you feel, how worthless is it? This total $900 billion in total Rand Paul came up with, and, that's like $2,800 a person. I'd like to have an extra $2,700. I don't know about you. I can buy myself a $20 gold piece and take my wife out to a nice dinner. 800-951-0592. Jason and I, we're coming right back with the half-empty cups.